Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you if it's already time to start calling Lonzo Ball a bust.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why Aaron Rodgers might actually be able to save the Packers' season. NFL could use that. Speak for yourself starts right now.
On a busy Thursday.
Yeah.
Lots of news. Lonzo's a bust. We'll get into that later. Hello and welcome. We're joined today by Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings and Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson. Let's start in Pittsburgh, where the Steelers host the Titans tonight, but there may be trouble brewing between Big Ben and offensive coordinator Todd Haley. On Sunday, Haley appeared to be screaming at Ben on the sidelines during Pittsburgh's win over Indy. This week, Haley claimed he was screaming at someone else, but Big Ben told a different story.
It was crazy. That's nothing new, him screaming at me during games. You guys don't ever see it. I did look over to the sideline, and he was definitely screaming. I know they're making a big deal about it. At the time, it's just, you know what, you move on. You can't really get caught up in that stuff.
Ben is also on the record that he'd like to shift to a no-huddle offense, saying, quote, it's actually easier because that's something that's been in since day one. So rather than install a bunch of new plays, you go with what you know and have been doing for a long time. All right, Cowherd, should the Steelers cater to Big Ben, or should Todd Haley continue to drive this offense?
Might as well cater to him because this is it. He's done. You're married. You've gone to a party before with your wife over the last 20 years. You see a couple fighting. You drive home with your wife, and you're like, oh, they're not going to make it.
For sure. And they're still together 20 years later. Still unhappy.
No, very happy. I mean, when stuff goes public, it's bad. You can hide 90% of your stuff. We got Big Ben taking shots on their practice, on Mike Tomlin. Haley would not do that if Tomlin also wasn't on board. I mean, you just don't have your OC undressing players.
I know Todd Haley. He does not ask permission. He asks for forgiveness. He does not. He does not ask for.
But this whole thing it's a relationship that's frayed. Big Ben has been public. You might as well ride him because, by the way, in between Bradshaw and Big Ben, you went 20 years with solid but B and C quarterbacks. You just squeeze everything out of the towel you can get. You got him for 7 more games. Actually, this is as bad as New England's defense will ever be. Ride him as long as you can.
I say ride him and let him go his way because it's not working the way that it's going right now. The guy's got 12 TDs and 10 interceptions.
Right.
He's not aging very well. I'll defend Todd Haley to this extent, and I knew him well when he was in Kansas City and the head coach. As an offensive coordinator, he can be successful. Arizona, on their Super Bowl team. He was the offensive coordinator on that team, and that's what got him the Kansas City job. He's had some success with Big Ben, but eventually Todd Haley's going to wear on you, and you're going to do what Big Ben's doing.
Yeah, for me, I think you don't really cater to Big Ben. You have to tailor definitely to Big Ben and what his style is and what he wants. My issue with that, though, is when you hear a quarterback say, well, no huddle is better for me. We operate better than no huddle. Yes, I'm all for that. I think as a wide receiver and on the offense side of the ball, no huddle puts a lot of pressure on the defense, but it makes you more of a pass-heavy team. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, that is not their key ingredients of success. Their ingredient is what you do best. Run that ball with Le'Veon Bell. And if you're in no huddle, as a quarterback, you want to throw the ball.
By the way, this is also a little Favre. Listen, we know Brady works really hard. We also know Favre, I love Favre, but Favre was a lot of ad-lib, less precise as Brady. Big Ben's closer to Favre. You know what that sounds like to me? I don't want to learn a bunch of new plays. I don't want you to install.
I want to do what I'm comfortable with.
I'm at the end. Again, it feels like Big Ben's like, remember when Favre, his last year in Green Bay, said, you start putting in a new playbook, I'm out of here. He was done with it.
But you know what? He's not watching the fight. He's in the fight. So as a player on the field, in a sense, you have an idea what would work. I mean, even from a no huddle, you can still run the football. I mean, you're still able to run the football. So in a sense, you don't have to cater to him, but you have to kind of see if it works. I mean, because right now their offense is sputtering. I mean, we know when they run the football, they seem to win football games, most definitely. But, you know, you got to have your quarterback incorporated. You can't become one-dimensional. I've been on a one-dimensional football team. After a while, you know, if you don't have that quarterback, it's going to get shut down. So I still believe that you have to somewhat cater to him. If this was Tom Brady saying this, what would they say? Hey, do what Tom says. If this is Aaron Rodgers saying this, let's go to the no huddle.
This goes back to something, though. This organization just isn't quite buttoned up. Here we are, maybe in Big Ben's last year.
7-2.
Well, again, the AFC right now is a mess.
No, I know.
But I mean, here we are, at the end of Big Ben's career, and he's like, I'd rather do this. You got coaches yelling at people. I mean, something never feels right with them.
Eric, you make a good point. When you're in the fight and you know what works best, not just for you, but for your team, there's a lot less thinking, and it sounds crazy, but when you got the plays being called by your quarterback and he's signaling and telling you where to go, you don't have time to really think. You got to react. And guys, look at 2 minute. Look at 2 minute offense.
It's an energy to it.
It's an energy to it, and you as a fan and as a spectator, you're like, where was this at all game?
They say it all the time. Why didn't they run that?
Yeah, exactly.
The Green Bay, where the Packers' season appeared to be all but over after Aaron Rodgers went down with a broken collarbone back in Week 6. But now, according to Mike McCarthy, the team might actually have reason for hope.
I think he's making really good progress. I know the training staff and the equipment staff, or the strength and conditioning staff, are very pleased where he is. So he's moving right along.
If the Packers are still in the playoff hunt, would you rush him back?
Without question. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's clearly working really hard because he wants to play this season. And so, yeah, if they're in the playoff hunt, the guy's 32, 33 years old. You only get so many chances.
By the way, Goff's only getting better. Wentz is only getting better. The Cowboys are missing Zeke. Case Keenum could be quarterback the Vikings. I'm going to tell you something. Seattle's got Richard Sherman out.
So you're saying rush him back?
I don't like the word rush. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl with one arm. The NFC...
With a phenomenal defense. Not a phenomenal...
You wouldn't rush him back?
Absolutely
not.
Absolutely.
What?
Hell no. No, hell no. No.
Go ahead.
Man, are you out of your mind? No way you rush him back. But what? Look, this team is mediocre at best. They're going to win maybe 5 games. I mean,
they've already won 5.
All right. Like I say, they're going to win 5 games. Stop right there. That's it. Man,
their schedule's
no way do you bring him back.
Eric.
All right. How old is Tom Brady?
40.
Oh, how old is Aaron Rodgers?
33.
There you go. He'd like to probably play. Man, come on. You don't do that. That's crazy.
This is why you don't rush him back. If they are in playoff contention, that means Brett Hundley is playing pretty decent football.
Did you watch him against Chicago?
I did. But my point is if you're saying that we can bring Aaron Rodgers back because we have a shot, that means Brett Hundley has done some things to put you in a position to where you are. Now, it's his throwing arm. I could see if it was not. Another thing, if you had one quarterback, and let's take Tom Brady out of it.
All right.
But if you had just one other quarterback outside of the name of Tom Brady that didn't need to practice, that didn't need to be sharpened on the practice field, would you be comfortable putting Aaron Rodgers in with no practice?
I would.
Absolutely. So if he's ready, he doesn't need the practice. He doesn't need the time. So just let him heal up. And if it's in the playoffs, if you make it, and he's ready to go 100%, he doesn't need that practice time. He doesn't need a game to get ready. He doesn't need practice to get ready.
You're right. Playoff.
Listen, man, it's the NFC right now. Seattle's disjointed offensively. Case Keenum, young Goff. You get Green Bay, you get Aaron Rodgers in. Dallas is off.
I'm listening to these two guys.
That's your future.
It is. I'm listening. But again, Aaron Rodgers has the power. If he doesn't want to play, he's not going to play. It's going to be his call. He seems to be working very hard to come back.
Yes.
Man, he might just be working hard, to get well. But, you can't. Let's just say he goes out and he plays, and he does it again to his shoulder. And that's a possibility.
Got a whole off season.
The same surgery all over again? I mean, you're talking about now, can he come back? I mean, look, if you do that, you might as well just run a jackass across the screen and let him play football. No, that's stupid.
This is your franchise quarterback. This is not a fix-it, quick remedy right here. This is it. This is your guy.
Here's where I would agree with you all. With these quarterbacks, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, playing well at 40 and close to 40 years old, you do probably need to take a more long-term approach with Aaron Rodgers. Let's make sure he's healthy so that he can play the next 5, 6, 7 years for the Green Bay Packers. But I'm just sorry. I think he's probably a competitor.
Yes.
And
No
if
doubt
there's
about
any
it.
chance,
Anybody who has an opportunity to get back on the field wants to get back on the field.
and
The coach has to say, hey, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't take the risk of you possibly getting hurt. You know, you're gonna have to sit this one out.
By the way, here's who could really use Aaron Rodgers. I know this doesn't matter in the big picture, but these are some of the quarterback matchups this weekend. Now, just take a look at some of these quarterback matchups. The NFL could use Aaron Rodgers. I know you're all excited about Andy versus potentially Paxton Lynch, but yeah.
Kellen Clemens versus Nathan Peterman. That sounds like a fraternity rush party or something. They pledges. Wow.
Welcome back. Eric Davis here, now joined by the founder of the big lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to Green Bay. Packers cut Martellus Bennett a couple of weeks ago. After it was revealed, the tight end had hidden a shoulder injury from the team. But questions started flying when Bennett looked pretty healthy after getting picked up by New England and playing right away. Now Clay Matthews says the Packers have found the whole situation pretty amusing.
We all got a good laugh from it, but it is what it is. I mean, Martellus is, in their locker room now and not here anymore, so now we just focus on the guys we have in here.
Whitlock, you have an issue with Bennett and how he left the Packers.
Yeah, I really do, because if Aaron Rodgers were healthy, he'd still be in Green Bay. He just jumped ship on these guys, pretended he had some injury that he was going to go work at Netflix, he told them, that he was so banged up. And then he immediately goes and plays in New England. This cuts at the integrity of the game. I can understand why Clay Matthews isn't going to come straight out and say it, but, they don't respect what Michael Bennett did. He was dishonest. It's not surprising to me. Him and his brother both are celebrated, but I question both of their integrity and honesty on a number of situations.
Well, is Martellus Bennett talented?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember seeing him years ago in Dallas. Okay, if somebody's really talented and they've had like 7 jobs in 5 years in any industry, Bears, Patriots, Packers, Giants, Dallas, isn't he one of the most? No, I'm not saying Antonio Gates in his prime. Martellus is 6'6", beautiful hands, runs routes, can block, and his resume, he's worked at every video store in town. He's a flake. Listen, every locker room's got him. Yeah. Guys that are just not great teammates, they're flaky. I've met it. He's a great guest on a show.
Loved by the media.
Well, he's a great guest on a show. He did children's book. He's an artist. He's funny. He's bright.
I think that's Michael.
He's the tight end of. He's Brandon Marshall is the equivalent of him, right? The
a little bit.
Wide receiver who's a little eccentric. I would use the word eccentric for the Bennett brothers. Integrity and honesty. We can dive into that if you want.
He just lied to the Packers.
Let me ask you guys this. We saw Eric Bledsoe in the NBA say, "I'm out. I don't want to be here anymore," and it was like celebrated. Hey, drama, fun, interesting. We never see what Bennett just did in the NFL. Is it that bad? Why do we see it in the NBA all the time? Kyrie Irving, I'm out of here. I don't want to play with LeBron. Now Martellus Bennett's like faking an injury. Get me out of here. Eric, how come this doesn't happen more in the NFL? I mean, we see it in other sports.
Well, I can tell you why, because they own your rights. So first of all, if he went there, he didn't hide an injury. I've left the team as a free agent. Trust me, they are going to do all of their X-ray scans. They're going to look at your old records. They're going to do all of their tests, everything. So if they passed him on his physical to sign him, he was healthy enough. Okay, so they can't say he hid something. That's number one. That part of it, I believe him on. Now, as far as him saying that I can't play with this injury, where that is, the Packers had a choice. And this is what I'm talking about. You don't see it in football because they own his rights. They didn't have to release him. They did not have to cut him. The Packers let him go. So since you let him go, now don't start saying anything about anything else. You had him on the team. If you thought that this guy was in position to play for your football team, that he didn't need the surgery, you talked to him, you got him. He's right there. If you let him go, then obviously you were finished with him. If he decides to go somewhere else, and if he gets picked up by another team, they ask him about that same injury, he could have gone through the same protocol. They look at it and say, well, our doctors are looking at this saying that we think you can play with it. You could possibly have surgery. Can you deal with the pain?
You make a great case, Eric, but answer me this. If Aaron Rodgers were healthy, would Martellus Bennett still be with the Packers?
We don't know. I don't know.
Do
I think he would have? Do I think he possibly would have played through whatever was dealing with him? Yes, I do. I think so. But guess what? We don't know if Aaron Rodgers comes back, would he have been on the field now, because the Packers decided to cut him. So they can't say anything about it now.
By the way, it is quite possible, to McIntyre's point, this was never a great fit. He is, I'm just going to say flake. Martellus is flaky. He's a personality. Green Bay doesn't have a history of retaining its own free agents. They don't do flakes. This was never a great fit.
Maybe he didn't fit in the locker room. You're right. It could have just been like...
It's obvious it wasn't a great fit. They cut him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So neither side liked the other. It's possible neither side liked...
He didn't want to play for them, and you can't have that in the locker room, and so they moved on.
Oh, no, you can't have that in the locker room. I've been on teams where I asked them to cut me, and they wouldn't. Why? Because we know you can play, and we are going to play you. I've literally asked to be cut. When I was in Denver, I asked Mike Shanahan, let me go. No, Eric, no. Insurance policy. I know that you can do what I need you to do when I need you to do it. You're not going anywhere. So don't tell me that's the reason. They cut him because they wanted to.
Let's move to college football and a huge Big Ten matchup between number 5 Wisconsin and number 24 Michigan. Harbaugh's squad has disappointed this year, but the coach says they have a chance to reintroduce themselves this week, and Wisconsin is the only top 10 win the coach has had since taking over at Ann Arbor. Cowherd, do you believe Harbaugh will have Michigan ready against Wisconsin?
Yes, and they'll lose 14-13 because this is the best Badger team ever. They've won 13 straight Big Ten games, and the conference has never been better. And Monday, you're going to say Harbaugh's a bum. They're going to lose this game because this is the best Wisconsin team and defense they've ever had. This program's never been better than it is this second. I'm not sure it's ever been better coached, and that includes Barry Alvarez. They're going to win this game. If it was in Ann Arbor, maybe different. They're winning this game.
The only thing I strongly disagree with you about is the score, 14-13. I don't think it's going to be that close. I'll be shocked if Michigan's able to do anything but kick a couple of field goals. That offense, and if Karan Higdon, if their running back is ready, maybe. But Wisconsin's defense is 1,000% for real. Jim Harbaugh, through 3 years, has had no luck at developing a quarterback so far. I just don't see Michigan scoring in any real consistent way. And Wisconsin's defense is going to create enough field position that, it's a 21-6 game, 24-6 game that Wisconsin controls from start to finish.
So what are you going to say Monday when Wisconsin, the best Wisconsin team ever, wins?
What I'm going to say is Jim Harbaugh was brought to Michigan to have them win Big Ten championships and beat great teams. He's not doing it.
Well, wait a second.
At some point, he needs to do it.
He is starting their third-string quarterback, a redshirt freshman this week, okay? Nobody's paid attention to Michigan since the
tissue.
I mean, listen, it's happening. It's not an excuse for Harbaugh, but he's going to have his team up for this, Whitlock. There's no question about it. There is a tiny chance they could still get to the playoff and win the Big Ten championship and get to the playoff. They need to essentially Michigan. There is a formula where if they win out, they beat Wisconsin and they beat Ohio State. Wait a minute. If they win both of those games, Eric, and some other things fall their way, they can get to the Big Ten championship game. That's a fact. We're talking about Jim Harbaugh, one of the greatest motivators in college football. You can question his coaching.
Except against
I mean, listen, he doesn't have a great team this year. I'm not making excuses. These are facts.
They're down to a third-string quarterback.
Yeah, come on.
They don't have a great team right now. He's got McCaffrey, in the pipeline that's going to be his quarterback. When Jim gets a quarterback that can run his offense the way he wants to, they're going to be a better team. They'll be ready and up for this game. Because I think he's looking forward to next year. I think he's getting these guys motivated to play. He understands that this is the type level team that they want to be at Michigan, so I think he'll have them up ready to play. I don't think they're going to win the game. I think Wisconsin's a better team right now. And you couple all the injuries that they have. Wisconsin has got some injured guys.
They do,
but they're just across the board, it's a better club. But I think the people, if you look at what Michigan has right now, and the recruits that they have, the defensive coordinator that they have, the defensive players that they have coming in, the fact that he's going to have a quarterback that he wants, I think Michigan is a team that will be on the rise, and they will win some big games.
You ever notice this? When Pete Carroll dominated the Pac-12, Pac-12 was awful. Cal was the second-best program.
Oh, here we go.
Nick Saban's dominating the SEC. It's the weakest it's been in a decade. When Mac Brown was crushing in the Big 12.
Ooh, that's good.
Big 12 was down. Yeah. Big Ten right now is loaded. The coaching. When's the last time Penn State was this interesting? Wisconsin's never been this good.
I wish we could just dial the clock back to 3 years ago when he got hired. And if you were on radio or on TV saying, you know, the Big Ten's going to be so tough that Harbaugh may not win for 4
What did I
years.
say?
I believe Cowherd,
when he first got hired.
Not to defend the guy, but I think
said, people said going to be in the top 10 in 3 years, and I said, who's leaving the top 10? I mean, Gary Patterson's not leaving TCU, Oklahoma. I'm telling you guys right now, college football's got a lot of B-plus teams, and one of them is Michigan.
Let me add a layer here. You know it's tough to get up 2 weeks in a row for teams. We saw Ohio State, big win over the comeback against Penn State, then laid an egg at Iowa, okay? Last week, Wisconsin had to get up for that Iowa game. We saw that first half. They were not pretty. It was close. They pulled away in the second half. Michigan's had some weak opponents leading into this.
Yes.
I would not be shocked if, like he said, it's a one-possession game. Listen, take the points, right? 7.5. You got it.
Absolutely.
I've been watching Michigan, and what we have a disagreement about the word win. Eric's talking about W-H-E-N.
Yes.
When he gets a quarterback.
Absolutely.
When this
I said they can't win this game, okay?
I'm talking about W-I-N. That's what he was brought there to do. Win now. It was, in 2018, he's going to be really good. That's not what Jim Harbaugh is supposed to do. For all the hype. Again, I like Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, you keep saying
and I love Michigan. I do.
Brady Hoke.
It's the hype.
Yeah.
Y'all had him on Mount Rushmore of coaching.
No.
He's the same as Saban. He's the same as Urban Meyer. He's the same as this guy, that Bear Bryant, blah, blah, blah. He ain't winning right now.
Jason, can we remember, listen, Lonzo Ball, we're scrutinizing him after 13 games.
Yeah.
This is his third year, his first full cycle of recruits at Michigan. Can we give Harbaugh a little bit of a break? Just a little. Patience is a virtue.
Next year.
My
rope goes until next season.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're joined now by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard and former NBA head coach and Kansas City's finest, Earl Watson. Earl, I say Tech.
9.
There we go. All right, we know. All right. Let's move to Lonzo Ball, who just had another terrible night. This time in a loss to the red-hot Ben Simmons and the rising Philadelphia 76ers. Lonzo had 2 points on 1 for 9 shooting and added just 2 assists, spending the entire fourth quarter of a close game on the bench. Cowherd, go ahead and admit it. Your boy, Lonzo Ball, your man that's going to bring King James to Los Angeles, he's a bust.
No, he's not a bust. He's struggling. By the way, you know what he did after that game last night? This is why he's not a bust. After that game last night, Luke Walton announced he went back to the practice facility and shot jumpers for hours. Okay, that's why he's not a bust. He's not full of himself. He's a hard worker. He's not physically ready to play.
Anthony Bennett was very humble, but continue.
Anthony Bennett wasn't even a dominant college player. Lonzo was the most impactful Pac-12 basketball player. It's a good conference. Listen, you want to know who's a bust and nobody's talking about it? Markelle Fultz. You think he's really injured? Or
why we got to change the subject? Every time I get you on a point, you try to change the subject and talk about somebody else.
Markelle Fultz is a bust.
We're talking about Lonzo Ball.
He's not a bust.
The man is shooting like 22% from the field.
By the way, who thought when he came into this league, that guy can shoot? A year ago, we were all like, if he can figure his shot out, he could be a star. We never thought he was a shooter.
Did you ask Luke Walton how many shots he made at that practice he went back to? That's the key question.
Here's the thing. He's averaging 9 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds a game.
Not bad.
He's become the youngest player in NBA history to have a triple-double.
And to shoot 22% from the field.
In his second game as an NBA player, he scored 29 points against your Phoenix Suns and almost had a triple-double. I mean, 15 games in to call this guy a bust. He's got room to grow, a lot of room to grow. He's got to learn some things. He's probably got to change his shot. But to say he's a bust is just ridiculous at this point. There's no way. He's done good things.
Somebody's got to be ahead of the curve.
If I can take you on a visual journey, right? Honestly, there's an MVP caliber point guard who was MVP. The first 15 games of his rookie year, he shot 33% from the field with the same amount of attempts, least amount of three-point attempts, but +3 at the free throw line, right? Lonzo rebounds better, and this is going to blow your mind, and has a higher percentage of efficiency as far as assists. He averages more assists. You know who that person is, right? Russell Westbrook. Who is the triple-double king.
The most athletic person in the NBA, you comparing to Lonzo Ball.
But would you say that his rookie year?
That
he was the most athletic in the NBA
you know,
at that time.
I've mentioned several great point guards, John Stockton, Gary Payton, who struggled. I'll throw in another, Steve Nash. Nobody knew anything about Steve Nash. His first few years, he was coming off the bench. So it happens. I mean,
was Steve Nash #2 pick? No.
By the way, let's stop worrying about that. Nobody cares where Tony Parker was drafted. Or can you play or can you not play? Do you think anybody cares where Kyle Kuzma was picked? Now he can play. That's all overrated media stuff.
I got a stat for you all. Earl want to throw stats around. Let's put up some Staples Center stats.
Okay.
I want to show you who scored more points at the Staples Center between Lonzo. Can we show the stats between Lonzo Ball and Joel Embiid? This is the point differential between Joel Embiid at the Staples Center and Lonzo Ball.
By the way, Joel Embiid, 4 years, played 43 games. I'll take Lonzo.
He's played twice in the Staples Center, and he's outscoring the #2 pick who they put up in the rafters.
Let me show you another clever graphic. This is another clever one. Okay, let's go to mine. All these guys, #2 picks.
There you go.
Gary Payton, Jason Kidd, Ball through 15 games. Oh, that's funny. And for the record, Lonzo has far more pressure than these guys. These are all-time players.
You know what those two guys on the left can do?
What?
Play defense. You know what that guy on the right can do? He can't play defense.
Okay, you want to know what those two guys on the left played in an era where defense was demanded? There's no hand check now. Nobody can stop anybody. It's a three-point shooting league.
I don't have a stat sheet chart that we can put up, right? But can we just talk about this is good, the 78 points versus the 52. I want to know how many games did Embiid play in his rookie year?
Oh, it's interesting.
I don't know that.
Probably zero.
We'll have
zero.
Zero.
He's set. He got a year to prepare his mind, his body, being physically challenged and growing, and prepare for the rigors of the NBA.
Y'all acting like I'm Magic Johnson, and I'm the guy that put him up in the rafters on draft day or whatever day. Magic did this. Set the expectations.
Well, his dad.
Magic set these. But hold on. I got one. I want to go to my Lonzo meter. You got your LeBronzo meter. I want to show you guys where Lonzo is on my Lonzo meter today. Yeah, he's sitting right at. Probably going to play in China before this is over.
Stop it.
China League, Starbury.
Let's also, can we
Jimmer
just...
Fredette.
I am much more lenient with college players today for two reasons. Number one is they come in at 19. Secondly, these domineering college basketball coaches, when you scout some of these players, these coaches don't let these kids... This is the first time a lot of these 19-year-old college kids have been running an offense.
Are you about to blame Steve Alford? Is that what I mean?
No, what I'm saying is all these guys, all Calhoun, Thad Matta, most of these college guys walk down the court, look over at Thad Matta, he barks the offense. Not only is he a kid, for the first time in his life, run an NBA franchise. It's hard.
A river.
Yeah, look, as I'm saying he's not a bust. I think he's going to be a very good player. He does have some things he's going to have to change. I think he's going to have to change his shot, especially in the mid-range.
That's hard.
I also think even as a passer, and I've praised him for pushing the ball ahead on the pass. But what you see him doing is he's just pushing it ahead to get it out of his hands.
Yes.
You know, like
potato.
He'll get it to Brook Lopez at half court instead of waiting to see if the guy's going to be able to make a play or score a bucket to push it ahead. So he needs to learn to dribble it up the court sometimes instead of kicking it to a guy that can't do anything with it. So he does have some room to grow.
He can be too passive.